Hello and welcome. This is Business Breakthroughs Podcast. My name is Diane Fulmer, your host. I'm the founder of DE Fulmer LLC, a marketing agency offering book editing, copywriting, and consultation services so busy business owners can bring their authentic stories to their audience to connect, build relationships, and increase their sales. In the description box or show notes, you'll find some links to connect with me. If you want to sponsor an episode, please reach out. Thank you for your support. This is an interview style podcast where we talk to business owners about their origin stories and lessons learned. You'll get to realize you're not alone, and we've all been there at some point. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Comment below and let us know your thoughts on this episode. With that out of the way, let's get started. On today's episode, we have Ellyse Colson. Ellyse Colson is a business coach for one-to-one service providers. She is super passionate about helping service providers create consistent 5K months in the simplest, most sustainable way possible. Ellyse knows firsthand how hard it can be to create consistency as a service provider, as she started her business as a one-to-one service provider back in May 2018. After countless struggles, she was able to create consistent 5K months without digital products, starting an agency, or becoming a coach. When she's not helping amazing service providers simplify their business to make more money, she's spending time with her 3 kids and husband in Denver, Colorado. Hello, Ellyse, and welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Diane. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm very excited. I love talking about my origin story. I not so much for me, but like you said in your intro, so that you can connect to other people about and realize that your journey is not singular. You are on this journey with other people and they have also experienced the same things too. So I'm excited to chat today.
Yeah, me too. So, can you tell me some more about yourself and what led you to start a business?
Absolutely. So I am actually an educator by trade. I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was like 7 years old and was incredibly focused on getting there all through middle school, high school. That's what I went to college for. There was never any doubt in my mind that I wanted to be a teacher. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so that's what I did. I went and I became a teacher. And in teaching, I mean, we could talk all day long about all of this what's wrong with the education system, but I did. I really loved it and I enjoyed it. And the thing that I feel like a lot of people don't know and don't truly understand is that as a teacher, it's really great when you don't have any kids and you don't have necessarily other people that are depending on you because your time is not your own during the school year, like almost exclusively. And while I was fine with that, when I didn't have kids, I became pregnant and realized that I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I shifted into being a school administrator. And I have these leadership qualities about myself that I don't think I ever really realized until I was in teaching and then became the lead teacher very quickly and then stepped into doing school administration where it was like, "Oh my gosh, I actually am pretty good at this leadership stuff." And it was fine and dandy. Like I could leave at the end of the day as a school administrator and leave my stuff at work and didn't have to come home and be doing other things. But again, I was still tied to somebody else's schedule. And during my maternity leave with my second child in May of 2018, just I felt like one, I wanted to have a little bit more control over my time, over what was happening in my life, and even like when I could go on vacations. Cause it's so funny. I would talk to my parents, they'd be like, "Cool, so can we go on vacation this week?" No, I can't go during that week. You don't understand. I can't just take off a whole week of school. That's frowned upon. And I also just wanted to be more readily available because the other thing was, for as much as I loved my job and I loved my school and I loved everything that I was doing, there were several times when I had to leave before my kid was awake, was up, And I was getting home after he was already put to bed because I was driving an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half home. And so losing those 3 hours was just exhausting. And I knew that I was missing out on this really valuable time that I didn't want to be missing. And so that time piece was really, really weighing on me. The other piece that just totally blew my mind and was starting to get really frustrating, honestly, was it didn't matter how good I was at my job. The amount of money that I was gonna make was determined by the taxes that the school got from the previous year. It did not matter if I was the most amazing school administrator that had ever existed. My pay was tied to something I had 0 control over. And my husband is also a teacher, and so we wanted to buy a bigger house and we wanted to have
Mhm.
a third kid. And those things were not ever going to be possible if we both continued
Mhm.
to be teachers. It wasn't going to happen. So I saw a webinar from a really amazing person, and she was talking about this freelancing thing. And the only time that I had ever heard the term freelancing was talking about writing, like a freelance writer. And at
Mhm.
that point, I was like, I mean, I'm not a writer. That is just not ever gonna happen. And
But you're a brilliant storyteller, so
I am now. It's so funny. The person in the stories that I told myself 6, 7 years ago, I don't even
yeah.
recognize her. She is I there are pieces of me in there, and I can look back and be like, "Oh, that's connected to this piece now." But, like, 6, 7 years ago, I was like, "I'm not a writer." In fact, in schooling, all of my schooling that I ever had, I on all of the state assessments, I would get partially proficient in writing. And so it became part of this story that like I didn't really know how to write. Like I wasn't a very good writer. And now I would never say that about myself. I'm actually a pretty decent writer. And yeah, like you said, I can tell
Absolutely.
stories. That's
Yeah.
so awesome. And so that was the only attachment that I had to freelancing. And then she was talking about all of these other skills. And I was like, I mean, I can organize the pants off of anything. So
Mhm.
maybe I can really do this freelancing, this virtual assistant stuff. And maybe that's going to be the thing that I can do working from home. Because I mean, the other thing that we all need to know, I am very much an introvert. And so, like,
Mhm.
I want to be spending time by myself more than I want to be spending time with other human beings. And
Mhm.
being in a school and even in a classroom or not in a classroom, but still being in a place that you are constantly surrounded by other people. I would drive home and I was so drained
Mm.
and
Yeah.
really didn't have enough time or space to re-energize myself. And so we stepped into this freelancing thing, having no idea.
Mhm.
And in fact, it's so funny. I had no idea that I was even starting a business, not for real. It was more
Mhm.
just like, "Okay, I guess
Yeah.
I can try this thing." And then here I was starting this business, which was not on my radar at all. At no point in time was I like, "Maybe someday I'll start my own business." No, that was not a thing. And so we jumped in and we started going, and it took me a very long time. It took me 2 years to build up my business enough that I could quit my 9 to 5 job because unlike some people, the amount of income gap that I needed to fill was that $5,000 a month, and I needed it to be consistent. I needed it to be
Mhm.
something that was reliable, not like, "Next month, we have no idea how much money I'm bringing in, but we'll see if we make it." And so being able to build up and get to that consistency along with all of the 10,000 mistakes that I made on that journey to
Yeah.
consistent 5 months, I mean, it just took me a while, and that was fine with me. Again, I loved my job, and it was starting by the time I was done, it was like, "I'm done. This has been a lovely chapter
Yeah.
of my life. I'm ready to close it."
Well, yeah, and people a lot of times think especially in the biz op space, like it's an either or thing. But a lot of times there's pros and cons to a 9 to 5. There's pros and cons to starting a business. And every person has to weigh their situation and approach it the way that works for them.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I will say one of the things that I got very good at doing was being able to juggle both, like being able to
Mhm.
juggle the 9 to 5 life and still
Mm.
pouring into my business. And because by the time that I quit my 9 to 5 job, I was running my business at capacity. We were
Wow.
doing both. And I don't know that I would have been able to sustain that for very long without being totally and completely exhausted. But I
Mhm.
did it for a good 6, 7 months of, like, running both of these things, and,
Mhm.
I mean, it's not ideal, but if you are somebody who's in the 9 to 5 and you're like, "I have no idea how I'm also going to be starting a business and running it
Mhm.
you can do it. There are ways to structure your day and your time so that you can do both.
That's so incredible. And the parenting and just all the time management.
Well,
Uh,
and I'm very lucky that
Yes.
my husband is, like, such a partner. Even now,
Yeah.
like, even with me running my business, but definitely when I was doing both, there was
Mhm.
never, at least not purposefully, there were never any guilt trips of, "You're not spending enough time with me." It was really just, "Cool. I see that you have this thing. What are the things that I can do to help out?" And so putting kids to bed and pick up and drop off and grocery shopping and cleaning the house, and he has been my partner, which I think is something that I feel like, unfortunately, there are a lot of women in particular who don't necessarily have that. And so I feel very fortunate, and he has allowed me to be able to step into those pieces very easily without a lot of friction.
That's wonderful. So, we talked a bit about what inspired you to get started in business and how you made that leap. So, what have you learned and who helped along the way? Was there anyone who inspired you that you want to talk about?
So that's the inspiration question is very interesting. I think the biggest thing that I've learned through all of this, because I mean, at no point has this journey been quote unquote easy. There's always another hill, another mountain that you're climbing. And I think the reason why a lot of people end up throwing in the towel is they're not ready for that. They're not ready to go all in. And so one of the mantras or phrases that continues to play in my mind and, like, is my biggest learning piece is you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you gotta go through it. And so even
Absolutely.
though it's hard, doesn't mean you can't do it. Just because
Um,
something isn't super duper easy doesn't mean you can't do it. You just have
mhm.
to be willing to take the next step in the direction that you wanna be going. And so, I mean, I by no means could have done this by myself. Not because I don't have all of the skills, but, like, we are not meant to be solo running machines. Like, you need other people feeding into you. And so Lauren Golden was the woman that I learned how to do all of the freelancing stuff from, has continued to be a really great mentor and friend. And, like,
Mhm.
she is so paramount and fundamental to how I continue to run my business because of the authentic way that she runs her business. It essentially gives you permission to be yourself and
Mhm.
to step into your own power and know that you're not going to get it all right every single time. All of those
Mhm.
things are so huge. The other set of people who have been so, so fundamental and so helpful, especially over the last couple of years, are my accountability partners. I have this
Mhm.
small group of women, and all three of them are just they're the people that you need in your corner who are going to say, I see you. I know that you're going through something rough, and let's put your big girl pants on and let's go. You can do it. You're amazing. What are you doing right now? Let's go. And so, what's so funny is we've been in a group together for a little over 2 years. And at
Mhm.
one point or another, one of us has been going through some big life. change life situation and able to have the others there to pick you up and be like, you got this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of sucks. Take care of yourself, but also you're a really amazing business owner. Let's keep going.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I don't know that during those really rough periods of time, if I would have been able to pick myself up like that, if I would have been able to pick myself up as quickly as I picked myself up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Having support from other people doing the same thing is so important.
Especially because I
Mm.
love all my real life people,
Mhm.
but nobody has any idea. Even
Yeah.
my dad, who runs his own business, he owns a sign company. He's actually in the middle of selling it right now so he can retire. But he owns a sign business. But because it's a brick and mortar business, he can't translate in his brain that, like, I also run a business. And so he would be the closest person who would have any understanding of what I do, and they just don't get it. You
Yeah.
just don't get it,
It's
and
a
that's
different
fine.
world. Yeah.
That's totally fine. I have
Yeah.
my people. I found my people. I can talk about my business stuff with those people, and
Yes.
then, you know, answer general questions like, "How's your business going?" "Oh, it's going fine. Thank you for asking."
Exactly. This is a good time to have a few brief breakthroughs. Okay, so can you tell me a mistake that people make?
So, one of the biggest mistakes, and this is true for a lot of people, and especially a lot of
Mhm.
people that I work with, but just in general, one of the biggest things that I struggled with, the reason I struggled for so long in my business is that I just wasn't talking to people. Like, people would say, "Go network," and I was like, "Okay, what the heck does that mean? I don't have anybody to network. I've been a freaking teacher. We don't do networking things. What is this networking business? What am I supposed to do?" And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see and that I absolutely made is that I just wasn't talking to people. And talking to 1 or 2 people a week or a month and expecting that to make a huge shift in your business, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
You gotta form relationships, you gotta form connections, and you have to be able to relate to other humans in order to grow a business. It doesn't matter what kind of business you run, if you
Mhm.
are not talking to people, it's going to be significantly harder for you.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, and you have to be prepared to talk to people even when you don't feel ready or in the moment to talk to people. If someone
Oh
says,
my
"Oh, you
god.
have a business at a dinner party or something," you have to be ready to go, "Oh, yes, this is what I do," because you never know who you're
You
going to
never
connect
know.
with. You never know.
Do not downplay it, and
Yeah.
also be okay with the fact that the first several times that you talk about your business, and not just on the computer, typing up the thing that you do, but verbally talking to people about what it is that you do, you're going to stumble and fall and not have it perfect, and that's okay. They'll get it. They'll get it together. Don't worry. It doesn't have to be the most beautifully articulated thing in order to have somebody understand and know that you might be able to help them.
Mhm.
You never know.
Yeah, that's totally true. Give me a recent lesson that you learned.
So, I don't even know. This is one of those lessons that I like, you know, but you don't necessarily know until you're learning it over and over and over again. And it really comes down to not everybody's going to love you.
Mhm.
That's okay. You're not everybody's person. You can't be everybody's person. You are one person. And so if you are everybody's person, then you're nobody's person. And
Yes.
I still struggle. We are on a journey.
Yes.
And I would not consider myself to be a people pleaser.
Mm.
I definitely have some tendencies, but I also can recognize that I love myself more, and I'm not willing to give up myself to please somebody else.
Yeah.
There are a couple of people who are exceptions, but those are longer dealing issues that we're still working through. But this idea that it's okay for me to be seen and heard as I really am,
Mhm.
and that in doing that, there are people who are not going to like it, and that's okay.
Yeah,
And it
that's true.
doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, like, come out and be harsh and, like, cutthroat and like edgy or whatever. Like you can just really be yourself, and that may be
Mhm.
a softer, like calmer version of what somebody else might be doing on the internet or whatever space that you're in. And that's okay. But as long as it's you, it doesn't matter if it's not just like somebody else. It doesn't matter if every single person loves you, because not everybody is going to love you.
Mm. That's a very good lesson.
And for somebody who just wants people to love me, like at the
Yeah.
core, at the end of the day, I just want people to like see me and love me. It's hard. It's a hard realization to be okay with. And like I
Yeah.
said, continuing to work through it, continuing to work through it.
I'm right there with you. It's something I work through a lot, and, oh, I'm just so glad that you said it. I think a lot of people are gonna not feel alone now that you've said that, so
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I hope so. And know that if you come into my this is why I struggle so much. You come into my space and you are just yourself, like I will find something about you that I absolutely love. And I will love you and take care of you and see you. And the fact that that isn't always reciprocated, I think is the part that just guts me.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I've had at this point a good chunk of people that I've worked with in group coaching and stuff like that. And people have left and for various different reasons and whatever. And I always just want them to come back. I
Mhm.
it's always just, I mean, you can come back. I love you. I want to help
Mhm.
you. Let me just do this
Aw,
thing with you. And
yes.
it gets really hard to just be like, I understand that I am no longer the person that you want in your corner, and that's okay. I will be here loving on you and cheering for you. And if you
Mhm.
ever want to come back, I'm here. I'm just like, I'm here. You can come to me. I will love on you and cheer for
Yeah.
you and be whatever it is that you need me to be in order for you to move forward. So,
Exactly. I think that openness is so important, and it's what kind of invites people back, like the not chasing it so much and the realizing that it's not always us. Sometimes other people have things going on, and, we can just react with love and understanding. And then, if they come back, awesome. If they don't, I mean, we can wish them well and cheer them on. So,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's brilliant. I love that.
I, I try.
All right. So, what's a recent win that you've had?
I think my biggest win is just continuing to move forward and like not letting the things that haven't gone right in the past weigh on me to the point where I can't move myself forward. And
Mhm.
I mean, because like I said, we're on a journey. Like there is the end point is you dying. And so I'm not really in a hurry to get there.
Mhm.
We're going to keep learning and keep moving through it. And so the ability to like take the good and keep those good things and look at the things that have happened that I don't necessarily want to repeat and be able to like analyze it and figure out why I don't want those things to happen allows me to keep growing and keep moving forward. And there really isn't a lot of like shame and blame that happens in my world and in my space. There have been countless things that I haven't accomplished or done as quickly as I wanted to, and I still keep moving forward because today is a new day, and if I want to accomplish something I haven't accomplished before, I know that I can do it.
Yeah, pushing forward is always important, no matter what. So, what's a goal that you have this year?
So, it's so funny. Goals. Ugh. I the biggest thing for me is to stay in alignment. And one of the things that I've started realizing about myself is that when I get to a point where I'm a little bit uneasy, like I'm not quite sure what that next step is, or not necessarily not what the next step is, but like I'm not making it as quick. There's some resistance.
Mhm.
There's resistance happening. One of the things that I love to do is create something new. create a new
Mhm.
product, put something new out, which really is just distracting from staying in my lane, like staying in alignment and staying focused. And so my biggest goal for the rest of the year is to really just stay focused and stay in alignment and actually follow through on the big goal of continuing to promote my signature program that I put together like a year ago and continuing to stay focused with that and pouring into the things that I do really, really well, which is helping one-to-one service providers create consistent income. That's what
Mhm.
I am doing, and knowing that that's my direction and that's my space, and I need to stay focused and stay in that space, and knowing that I can help people if I stay there and if I stay focused and don't get distracted by creating something new just because I'm quote unquote bored or there's some resistance in other directions.
You do have some amazing things though that you've come out with, like your different things that help people create
Yeah.
content and get out there and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I'm like, "Oh, that's only $27 and it sounds like it could help me get out there for the next 3 months. I want that right now." Like
Right? None of them are bad. That's
yeah.
what's really amazing. And so the non-salesy promo post workbook that you're talking about, that's
Yes.
amazing, but was something that I originally created for my group coaching students. And so I didn't even have to create anything new. It was just like, I'm going to sell this thing that exists that already is put together and we'll write an email to deliver the thing. Like it's already put together. So
Yeah.
that's the other piece is I have things. I don't need to keep creating something new. I can just continue to use all of these things, make sure they're in alignment with the overall goal, which is helping you to create that consistent income and helping to solve whether it's the micro problem or a more macro problem. This is what we're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, it really is more just Elise, you are very good at what you do because a lot of what was happening is
Mhm.
it was almost this self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, that launch didn't go well. You didn't sell the spots that you wanted to sell for that thing. And when I looked back on it, it was like, oh, because you got distracted and you started promoting this other thing over here and you were feeling scattered. And so your marketing feels scattered. And then you don't feel aligned and you're upset because the thing that you wanted to happen didn't happen.
Yes. So focus is really important as a goal for this year.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Stay the
Even though
track.
I would not be upset at all though if you had a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. I'm just slipping that in there.
Well, good to know.
Okay.
That may happen. I have another smaller ticket thing that I was talking to one of my accountability partners about. The idea came from her. It was something that she did with a client last summer. And like I told her after she told me about it, I was like, I'm not going to be able to not think about that. That just feels so good and would be so great. We'll see. We'll see if we're still percolating on it. It will probably happen at some point. So just keep an eye out.
Oh, I cannot wait. So, yeah, let me know when there's eventually a link. I'll make sure that it gets in the show notes and description and all of that with all of your other stuff. So, we talked a bit about the short term. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
So this is really funny. It's not really funny. It's weird. Since starting my business, the future is incredibly unknown. Also, my brother passed away 2 years ago, and, like, going through all of that really just kinda does solidify this whole idea that you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea. And as somebody who is super type A and likes to plan things out and likes to know what's happening, that is very unsettling for me to be
Yeah,
like, you're gonna
yeah.
plan something in 5 years and it's probably not gonna happen. So, I don't actually plan out 5 years from now. I know what's happening
Mhm.
right now, and I know
Yes.
what I currently want to be happening right now, and the promise that I have made to myself is, like, when it no longer feels in alignment, you're not gonna do it anymore, which is, I mean, kind of the way that I've continued to run my life. When something doesn't feel in alignment, I don't second guess myself. I don't stay in a space that is uncomfortable and I don't like, I find the next thing and I shift and I change. And so I trust myself enough to like make that decision when it comes true. For all intents and purposes, I will still be running my business the way that I'm running it now. And I know that one of the like bigger goals, like bigger things weighing on my heart, I don't know what the time frame is for it, is to create either some scholarships or even like a nonprofit in different areas. And so like some of the hot topics that just weigh on my soul are providing extra assistance for families who are dealing with family members who have long-term illnesses, which is
Mhm.
something that came to light when my brother was going to MD Anderson down in Houston every couple of weeks, which was costing my parents a ton of money to like fly him down there and another person with him because he couldn't just go by himself.
Mhm.
And then we'd have to stay in a hotel, and they have a hotel connected to the hospital, but the rooms are like $200 a night, $300 a night. And
Mhm.
so I can't, and there were families who were staying there for weeks, and I
Mhm.
cannot imagine the financial hit that is doing to families, let alone over such a long period of time. And so, like,
Yeah.
creating scholarships or something like that to support those families because my parents have significant amount of money. They are very fortunate. We are very fortunate that they could do that for my brother. And I can't imagine a family who doesn't have that kind of money. How are they being able to support their family members as they're going through this
Mhm.
tremendous health issue and wanting to be there and wanting to support them? And yet, how are they supposed to afford this? Like, how much debt are we making people go into because of these sorts of things? So, creating scholarships or a nonprofit around something like that. And the other one that has continue to come up for me is doing something with domestic violence and human trafficking. Those 2 issues to me are just gut wrenching. And
Yeah.
so being able to use resources and fund programs and do stuff to help people so that they don't ever have to go through something like that and
Yeah.
helping to find some sort of solution. So those are the big things that I wanna do, and
Mhm.
with the money that I wanna make in my business, after a certain point, you make so much money that it's kinda like, there's not really a whole lot else that I can do with this. I can keep buying things, but whatever. Whereas if I can make a difference long term, that is that is really where I want to go and the things I want to do.
That's wonderful. Giving back and making a larger impact on the world, making the world a better place.
I mean,
That's pretty incredible. Like, if we get another 5 years and you get to make the world a better place and not just make it a better place on the micro level for moms, but also make it a better place in general for people. I mean, I think that that is a pretty amazing 5-year plan.
I mean, whether it happens in 5 years, 10
Yeah.
years, whatever
Yeah.
legacy that ends up being, that's sort of the
Yeah.
trajectory and the goal. And yeah, I don't love putting like a time frame on it because I think when we
Yeah.
put time frames on things, all it really does is either discourage us or make us look at it and be like, okay, well, what else am I supposed to do? I
Yeah.
mean, and not to downplay anybody who does put time frames on their goals. Go for it. If that's the thing that
Mhm.
works for you and that motivates you forward, do it, please. Also, don't let it discourage you.
Yes.
It's an arbitrary time frame that you put on a thing. If it doesn't happen in that time frame, pick a different one and keep moving.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes it's better if we focus on the what and why and then just sort of leave the how up to whatever higher power that
Both for
and then that can be the time frame, that can be the who, that can be how it happens. We just have to have the faith and take the action. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yep,
Yep. So,
absolutely. So that's brilliant. And I love those causes. They're close to my heart too. And yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really
And I
glad
feel
to hear
like,
about that.
you know, for a long time, ideally, the thing that we want to happen, especially those of us who live in the United States, like you want the government to be able to help support those different issues. And at the end of the
Mhm.
day, there's just so much bureaucracy and so much crap and politics that
Yeah.
happen in all of that, that actually I'm going to make a much bigger impact if I can independently throw money at things. That's what I want to do in order to support these different causes. Could I go be a politician? Probably.
Mhm.
Could I make an impact? Maybe. But realistically, the place that I feel like I can make the biggest impact at this point is to have the funding backing for it, because that always ends up being
Mhm.
one of the biggest issues. It's like, well, we can't fund that thing. We don't have enough money, whatever it
Mhm.
is. So if I can help be part of that solution, that's where I want to go with that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm gonna make the budget happen.
Totally.
Don't tell me
Totally.
there's not a budget, don't tell me it can't happen, I'm gonna make it happen. So,
I
yeah,
have the money. Yeah,
yes. We're gonna do this. You don't
totally.
understand, I'm determined. I love that, okay. So, what are you promoting right now, and how can people reach you about it?
Totally. Okay. So my heart, my passion is
Yes.
in helping one-to-one service providers. I'm super passionate about helping moms. I think ultimately moms have more superpowers than they even know possible, because you are growing, taking care of, nurturing these other human beings. And you don't have to be a mom. Don't worry. If you're a one-to-one service provider and you want to create consistent income, the biggest thing is make sure you know why. I don't ever want you coming into my program if you're like, I mean, 5K just sounds like a good number. Like,
Mhm.
cool. You're not going to be super motivated to get there. You're just not. So I love helping one-to-one service providers create this consistent income, and moms is the subset that is super close to my heart, because we know how important it is for that sustainability for our families, and to also be able to feed the desire and want and necessity to support your family too while you're working from home. And so my the simple way to 5K signature program is an 8-week boot camp, essentially like sprint that we do, and ends with a month of group coaching where we sit down and we put together the foundations of what you need in order to create consistent income in your business. And then we start executing. The whole
Mhm.
purpose is to be doing and out there and like making the moves and making the difference in your business so that you can get there as fast as possible in the simplest way possible. I think if the
Sure.
thing that you are looking for is speed, simplicity is a key ingredient. And so
Mhm.
through using my simple framework, I walk you through how to do that in your business without having to create digital products, without having to become a coach, without starting an agency. We are doing things super simple so that you can move as quickly as possible and be creating consistent 5K months and beyond. I have one of my clients, she's making $10,000 a month, and the thing that we are working on with her is, my friend, you need to slow down and take care of yourself. So you get to a point where 5K is really just the beginning. If you want to be making more than that as a done for you service provider, as a one-to-one service provider, totally possible. The simple way is going to get you there. So you can find, I'll give Diane the link to the application. You can fill out the application
Yeah.
and we will get you enrolled in the next round. We start at the beginning of each month. So there you go.
Brilliant. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That sounds so amazing. Because I think that when starting a business, it can get overwhelming. There's so many things and you overcomplicate it, and keeping it simple is really key to success. Yeah.
It's really easy to complicate things, especially in the online space, and especially because you have so many people, like, throwing things at you, and they're like, "No,
Mhm.
you need to do it this way. No, do it this way." And it's,
Yeah.
okay, let's bring it back to basics, get to the foundation, build something solid that you can keep building on top of itself in a very like routine and simplistic way. That is where that consistency and sustainability is going to come from. And so less is more for sure.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today? Any more lessons, inspiration, anything about your business, your goals? We've covered so much today. I just wanted to give you a chance
Yeah.
to say anything else if you have anything.
I think we're good. We really covered some of the top things that
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what kind of business you run, having the perseverance to continue to move yourself forward is so important.
Yes.
One step at a time.
Yep. That's a perfect takeaway. All right. So, this has been Business Breakthroughs with Diane Fulmer with guest Ellyse Colson. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, save, share, and subscribe. See you next time.
Bye.